In this video, let's talk about residency in Guatemala. Now, I know Guatemala might not be the first country in Latin America that comes to mind when you're thinking of a relocation or a plan B, but quick little sneak peek, Guatemala can actually be a really good paper residency as well. So if you've ever dreamed of living in a place surrounded by volcanoes, sipping freshly brewed coffee in charming colonial towns, and living that affordable LatAm lifestyle with zero taxes, Guatemala might just be your next big move. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the whole process, step by step, from why you'd want to live there to the different residency options, how to apply, and even some pros and cons to think about before you pack your bags. So let's jump right in. First things first, why Guatemala? This country is seriously underrated, honestly. People don't talk about it much, especially not maybe you hear about it among backpackers a little bit in their 20s staying in hostels, but among American families or retirees, it's really under-discussed. But it's a really sick country with breathtaking landscapes, shimmering lakes, dense jungles, towering volcanoes. It's super epic. It's an epic country. The culture is really cool too. You have this ancient Mayan culture, kind of similar to the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. Long history, tons of ruins. It's a feast for the senses. And beyond the postcard-worthy views, Guatemala has some practical 21st century perks that make it a top pick for expats. The cost of living is incredibly low compared to places in the US, Canada, or most of Europe. You can rent a cozy apartment or even a small house in a place like Antigua, Guatemala, for anywhere between, $300 to $600 a month. Food is a steal too. Super fresh fruit and a hearty meal at a local comedor might cost you $3 or $4, and that's if you're splurging. Fresh fruits and veggies, fresh coffee. It's all pennies compared to what you'd pay back home. The weather is also another big draw. In many parts of Guatemala, especially the highlands, it's like this eternal spring weather, hovering between 60 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit year round, reminiscent of, Boquete, Panama, or Medellin, Colombia. These eternal spring type cities. Guatemala has that too, but no one really talks about it. So there's no brutal winters, no scorching summers, just comfortable days that make you want to sit outside with a book or a cup of that famous Guatemalan coffee, and you're at elevation. And here's the best part. Guatemala makes it very easy for foreigners to settle down. Whether you're a retiree looking to stretch your pension, a digital nomad looking to work remotely, or just someone with a steady income who wants a change of scenery, there's an option for you to get residency in Guatemala. So let's talk about how you can actually make this dream a reality. When it comes to residency in Guatemala, there are two main options that most people go for: the Pensionado program and the Rentista program. Both types of temporary residency visas are renewable, and after a few years, you can even apply to make it permanent. In other words, it'll renew to permanent residency. So let's break them down one by one. The Pensionado program, which is like the pensioners program, is designed for retirees or anyone living off a pension or fixed income, where they have basically anyone above a certain age that has a pension. So to qualify, you need to show that you've got at least $1,000 coming in every month. That could be from Social Security, a private pension, a retirement account, anything that's steady and documented. If you're bringing a spouse or kids along, you'll need to add an extra $200 per person on top of that base amount. So for a couple, you're looking at $1,200 a month total, which is very, very low. Okay. For a family of 5, what's that? $1,600, $1,800. It's very low. It's a fantastic option if you're ready to leave the 9-to-5 behind, leave these high-cost, depressing cities in the US and Canada, and settle into a relaxing lifestyle surrounded by Guatemala's natural beauty. The government basically says, hey, if you've got your finance sorted, come and enjoy our country. If you're able to live here with remote income, great. And honestly, $1,000 goes a long way here. You can live comfortably, eat out sometimes, and even have cash left over for travel or hobbies or maybe a chef or maid. Now, if you're not retired yet, but still want to call Guatemala home, the Rentista program might be your ticket. This one is for people with a reliable income from outside the country. So think remote workers, freelancers, or folks with investment income. A common route to this residency is anyone with a rental property. The requirement here is a bit higher. You need to prove $1,250 a month coming in from a source that's not based in Guatemala. Same deal as the Pensionado. Add $200 for each dependent, like a spouse or child. This option's great for digital nomads or anyone who has built a location-independent life. Imagine working from a hammock overlooking Lake Atitlan or a cafe in Antigua, all while keeping your residency status legit and paying no tax on foreign income. Here's the timeline as it works for both programs. So you'll start with temporary residency, which lasts for 2 years. After that, you renew it for another 2 years. And then once you've been in the system for 4 years total, you can apply for permanent residency, which does not expire as long as you maintain the status. So it's a pretty cool thing. You do not have to live in Guatemala full-time to keep your residency active, allowing you to have Guatemala even as a plan B residency, or maybe you want to be a snowbird and spend the winters there. So it's quite flexible in that sense. Just pop into the country at least once a year for a quick visit and you're good to go. That flexibility makes it perfect for people who want a second home base or a fallback option without fully committing to move forever. And obviously, you could fully relocate too and live a zero tax lifestyle in a country that's not going to bother you. So kind of works for all different types of people. So how do you actually apply for this? Well, the process isn't too tricky, but it does involve some paperwork and some time involved, but nothing you can't handle with little prep. You're going to need a few key documents to get started. Your passport, obviously, with at least 6 months of validity. A birth certificate, which needs to be apostilled and translated into Spanish. We can help with the translation, by the way. You also need proof of that income we talked about. So think bank statements, pension award letters, or investment records showing that you meet the $1,000 or $1,250 a month threshold. A police background check from your home country is required too, just to show that you're not a wanted fugitive. And finally, some passport photos, and that's pretty much it. There's a little bit more involved in terms of making sure that your financial documents are exactly what Guatemala is looking for. But if you work with us, if you work with MyLatinLife, we know how to prepare your application in the way that the Guatemalan authorities want it to look so that you don't have to come back multiple times, and we can increase that probability of getting accepted for the residency in Guatemala. So you're going to submit all this through Guatemala's immigration authority called Migración. Most people hire a local lawyer to handle the details, and honestly, I'd super recommend it for Guatemala. This is not the country that you can do it by yourself. By the way, MyLatinLife is a full-scale immigration consultancy. We can put this Guatemala residency in your hand. We do residency for every country in Latin America. So we do Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, Panama, Paraguay. Whatever country in Latin America you need help with, we can do it, including Guatemala. So there's a link in the description where you can book a call with us. You'll be speaking with me, Vance, directly. You'll be able to get a plan put together for your entire holistic situation. We can talk about taxes, Plan Bs, Plan A, relocation, health insurance, whatever you need to ultimately get to the outcomes that you need, get that Guatemala residency in your hands. The whole process usually takes 3 to 6 months, sometimes faster if everything is in order. Once it's approved, you'll get a residency card that proves that you're officially welcome to stay. One thing to note, neither the Pensionado nor Rentista visas let you work for a Guatemalan employer. These are for people living off external income. So if you're planning to get a local job, you'll need to get a different kind of visa altogether. But you can start a Guatemalan company if you really want, and you can do business locally in Guatemala through the company. You can also set up a US LLC or a Panama company to do business that way. So let's talk about some pros and cons, because no place is perfect, right? On the plus side, Guatemala's cost of living is a massive win. Your money stretches further here than most Western countries, leaving room for travel, savings, and enjoying life. The scenery, the nature is unreal. The volcanoes, lakes, rainforest, it's literally like living in a National Geographic special. The residency process is fairly laid back compared to other countries in Latin America, and certainly compared to Europe or North America, where you might be jumping through a dozen hoops. And location-wise, Guatemala is a quick hop from the US or Canada. So there's flights from Miami or Houston, and it takes like less than 3 hours to get there. Proximity is huge. You'll be able to visit family or have them visit you and pop back for business, no big deal. Another big benefit is it's a territorial tax country. This is probably worthy of its own episode, but basically Guatemala does not care about money that you earn abroad. So you could literally live in Guatemala all year round and pay zero tax, as long as you structure things in the right way and you're doing your business abroad. There are some downsides to consider that we'll mention quickly. So infrastructure can be a mixed bag. In cities like Antigua or Guatemala City, you'll find decent roads, Wi-Fi, and amenities. But head into the rural areas and it gets pretty rural pretty fast with, bumpy dirt roads and all that stuff. I think Starlink is a huge lifesaver here in terms of a backup internet source. Safety, worth mentioning. I mean, Guatemala is pretty safe. Expat popular hotspots like Antigua or Lake Atitlan generally feel secure as long as you're smart about where to go and everything. So I would say the country's on the safer side, but safer than Honduras, maybe safer than some parts of Mexico. I'd probably just put it on par with Mexico. So if you're comfortable with Mexico, like most expats are, you'll be comfortable with Guatemala. Regarding Spanish, while you don't need Spanish to survive, knowing it can make a huge difference. The English level here is arguably lower than Mexico, so brushing up on your Spanish can really help. We have a couple programs that we recommend for learning Spanish, and you might find a link for that in the description to this video as well, the programs we recommend. So yeah, learn some Spanish and you should be good to go. Overall, there's so much more to explore about living in Guatemala, the food, the festivals, little quirks of daily life. But hopefully this video has given you a solid starting point for residency. It's a country that blends affordability, beauty, and a welcoming vibe into something that's pretty special. Like, it really checks a lot of boxes: the proximity, low taxes, pretty low thresholds in terms of acquiring residency. So whether you're retiring, working remotely, or just chasing a fresh start, Guatemala has a lot to offer. If this video helped you out, please drop a like, subscribe for more travel and expat guides, and let me know what you want to see next. Again, link in the description to book a call with us and become our client and get the whole process started. And until then, keep exploring, and I'll catch you in the next video.